is set. The six, you usually say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. No, the six ladies of the jury. It's all female, and they have been described by the attorneys in court as 5 white female jurors and 1 black Hispanic juror. That's the way the attorneys have been describing them. Obviously, we don't have access to that information. We don't know their names. We have not read their questionnaires, but that's the way the attorneys have referred to them inside the courtroom. Let me bring in my attorneys, my dream team today. Criminal defense attorney Louis Gainor, back from Chicago. And down in Sanford, Florida, Janet Johnson. Great to have you both here. Let me begin with my take on this. This is a bad day for the prosecutor. I'm reading about these jurors carrying concealed weapons, calling the police on the kids doing stuff in the neighborhood. If I'm Bernie Dellariunda, the prosecutor in this case, I am not overly optimistic about this particular jury. I may be wrong, though. I didn't read the questionnaires. He knows more than I do. What's your take on this, Louis?
Vinny, are we watching the same trial? Because we're looking at this completely different.
Okay, good.
All right. The prosecutor has won this week. Why? Because they have 6 women on the jury. That is the best case scenario they could have asked for, they could have dreamed for. And this is the reason why. Rule number 1, women think of other people. They're sympathetic. And who's the sympathetic figure here? It's definitely not George Zimmerman. It's Trayvon Martin. So basic human nature says that they're constantly going to be thinking about Trayvon Martin in this. And from the defense point of view, that's the last thing you want. You want them thinking about your client. You want them afraid to send your client to prison. And here's the second big issue that nobody's talking about right now, but it makes a big difference. When it comes to somebody intervening to stop a crime, somebody going out and taking a stand against criminals, who's more likely to do that? A man would do that. A man would relate to what George Zimmerman would do. How many women have done with something like similar to what George Zimmerman would do? Very few.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I like that point. Janet Johnson, you're down there in Central Florida. You are in Sanford. Looking at this jury, who had a better day today?
I'm with you, Vinny. The defense definitely had a better day, and you know that because the state had peremptory challenges, which are pretty much for any reason, that were denied, which is very unusual. I mean, there's a Neil Slappy challenge in Florida. There's a Batson case. That's the federal case. And that's basically when the defense or either side says, you're striking too many women, or you're striking too many white people, or you're striking too many African Americans. And when that challenge comes up, the state has to come up, in this case, with a race-neutral or gender-neutral reason. The judge denied that reason 4 times. That's very unusual. That's a win for the defense.
That's a huge win for the defense, but we shall see. This thing is just getting started, folks. The stage is set for the George Zimmerman trial to begin. It's Monday, 9 a.m. You'll see it right here on HLN. B29, B76, B37, B51, E6, E40. Not playing bingo, folks. Jury selection has been completed in the George Zimmerman Trayvon Martin case, and those are the seminal 6. Those 6 jurors have a lot of things in common. One of them is they are all female. So you're not going to get up in front of court and say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You're just going to say, ladies of the jury. Although there are 2 alternates who are men, so they will say ladies and gentlemen. But anyhow, those are the 6 who will be sitting in judgment of George Zimmerman. So 6 women, that's a different kind of dynamic and will certainly impact the way this jury deliberates. Let me bring back in my legal dream team, Louis Gainor and Janet Johnson joining me from Central Florida. All right, Janet, you said you agreed with me that this jury favors the defense. Louis Gainor is saying this is a good prosecution jury. Let me ask you, though, Louis, let me ask you about this one. B37 used to carry a concealed weapon, had a permit. I don't like that if I'm the prosecution, do I?
Not so fast. You have to think about how the gun lobby has reacted to George Zimmerman. But think about this for a second. How has the NRA and the pro-gun lobby reacted to George Zimmerman? The silence has been deafening. They haven't stood up for him for 1 minute because they know you don't ever rush into a situation like that with a loaded firearm because that's how someone gets killed. So you want, as a prosecutor, you want firearm owners who are trained, who are certified, who understand the inherent danger of a loaded weapon, because they would say, I would never do what George Zimmerman did. That's completely reckless, and I think he did it intentionally. So the prosecutor wants gun owners on there. In fact, the more trained and avid they are as gun owners, the better.
The more critical to be of George Zimmerman. Okay, I'm following you there. Okay. Janet, how about B29? This is a woman who has been described by the attorneys in court as either black or Hispanic. She has just moved to Central Florida from Chicago. She has 8 children, including some teenagers, some young ones, and an older one. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, normally as a defense attorney, I would not want that, but I took some notes, and according to my notes, she also had been arrested once. And I think as a defense attorney, I always want people who've been arrested, because even if they took their lumps and they pled to it or they felt they were guilty, they know that somebody sitting in a courtroom could be innocent, and that they will give that presumption that people are wrongfully accused. So I would err on the side of picking her no matter what if she'd been arrested, and that's what I think is the case.
All right, so